The night before my wedding, I opened a drawer and found a thick stack of love letters from my twin sister to my fiancé. Line after line overflowed with tenderness. At the end she wrote, "My sister has a bad temper. I'm not like her. If you'll let me stay by your side, treat me like a cat or a dog, I don't mind. I'm not greedy, just for tonight. Please." His answer was scrawled so hard the pen had torn the paper. Okay, the very last night before I was to marry Tang Bingchen, I stumbled across a hidden compartment in the headboard of his bed. Inside lay every single letter Song Yuan, my identical twin, had ever sent him. She had poured her joys and sorrows onto those pages, confessing how much this secret love tormented her. If only she weren't my sister. Heaven knows how much I love you. Why is it always one step too late? I love you, have loved you since the first moment I saw you. At first, Tang Bingchen had simply crumpled the letters and tossed them aside. Later, he began keeping them in neat, chronological order. Finally, he started writing back. "Stop overthinking. We missed each other by only a little. I, too, regret not meeting you sooner." My phone buzzed. A photo flashed on the screen. Song Yuan, bare-shouldered, nestled against a man's chest. The man's face was hidden, but the small red mole on his collarbone stabbed at my eyes. I had kissed that mole countless nights, feeling him shiver beneath my lips. My stomach lurched. I thought I would vomit. She withdrew the photo almost instantly. "Oops, sent to the wrong person. You didn't see anything, did you, sis?" A moment later her voice note arrived, light and smug. "But it doesn't matter if you did. In the end, everything that's yours becomes mine, right?" Song Yuan has always been like this. She knows how to wheedle, how to sparkle. Though we share the same face, our parents have always favored her. Whatever I owned, she had to take, from dolls, to friends, to boys who once liked me. I knew this, so when Tang Bingchen and I began dating I was almost superstitiously careful. I never introduced him to my family. He begged me again and again. She, why won't you let me meet your parents? Am I not good enough? Cornered at last, I cried and told him everything. How my parents had always favored Song Yuan, how anything I loved was snatched away. "I'm terrified you'll be next." He hugged me fiercely. She, don't be afraid. From now on you have me. Of all the people in the world, I will love only you. And yet, he began answering her letters one by one. He began playing a shameless game with her behind my back. And on the very night before our wedding, he still dreamed of having both wife and mistress. I called Tang Bingchen. The phone rang for a long time before he picked up, his breathing ragged as though he were in the middle of strenuous exercise. She, what's wrong? For a moment I couldn't breathe. My heart felt crushed. "What are you doing?" I asked mechanically. He hesitated, then laughed. "Working out." I thought I heard Song Yuan's soft moan, cut off the instant it left her lips. "Who's there with you?" My own voice sounded shredded, metallic with blood. The man who once raced through the night to bring me medicine when I coughed over the phone now answered with impatience. "Another call's coming in. I'll ring you back." And he hung up before I could speak. Any last hope I still clung to crumbled. I rang my parents and told them flatly that Song Yuan had stolen my fiancé and that the two of them were in bed together at this very moment. As expected, I received only abuse. "How dare you slander your sister? Shameless girl, ruining your own sister's reputation the night before your wedding. Have you no decency?" I had been quick. I had screenshotted Song Yuan's photo, the mole on Tang Bingchen's collarbone unmistakable. My parents fell silent for a second, then as always, closed ranks around Song Yuan. "The invitations have gone out. Our family can't afford the scandal. Look at your sour face. No wonder Xiao Tang prefers you on Yuan." My father's voice was final. "Whether you like it or not, this wedding will take place." They hung up. On the eve of my wedding, my sister seduced my fiancé. My parents' first reaction was to curse me, their second to worry about the ceremony, their third to remind me I was unlovable. Therefore Tang Bingchen had chosen Song Yuan. "That is my family, my fiancé, my good sister." I laughed until tears ran. After a long hesitation, I opened an old chat window and, deleting and retyping, finally sent a message to a number I hadn't contacted in years. I was wrong. I waited the whole night. The screen never lit again. I smiled wryly. He probably no longer used that number, maybe no longer even remembered who I was. The last spark of hope inside me died. At dawn my parents arrived early, not to comfort me, but to guard against my escape. They couldn't risk losing their ticket to the Tang family. My own feelings were irrelevant. Expressionless, I let the makeup artist paint my face. In the mirror the bride looking back at me showed no trace of joy. My mother's face sagged with disgust. "Look at that corpse face. Smile. Today is your happy day." I turned away. The gesture enraged her. She shrieked, "See how you treat your own mother." The makeup artist tried to smooth things over. "Brides always feel sentimental leaving home. Look at this gown. gown, millions of crystals, like a sky full of stars. Everyone who walks in gasps at its beauty. It wasn't the one I'd originally chosen. Tang Bingchen had hugged me, eyes shining. Baby, I want the whole world to see how much you mean to me. And I believed him, until I read the letters. Song Yuan had described this exact gown. I know I'm not the one marrying you, but could you wear this dress I picked, so it feels as if I'm the bride? Tang Bingchen replied, okay. I let out a cold laugh. This gown was chosen by my sister. She's heartbroken the groom isn't hers today. The makeup artist's smile froze. My mother went white. Had it not been bad luck to mark the bride's face, she would have slapped me. Shut your mouth. What filth are you spouting? I looked her straight in the eye. Song Yuan seduced her brother-in-law, and you're covering for her. Tang Bingchen was in her bed last night. Don't tell me you didn't know. The makeup assistant's jaw dropped. Excitement glittered in her eyes. Who doesn't love high society gossip, especially twin sister Steele's fiancé-level scandal? My father burst in, shoved the onlookers out, slammed the door, and struck me so hard across the face that stars exploded behind my eyes. I tasted blood. I licked my split lip and finally laughed out loud. You've bruised the bride's face. How will you explain that on stage? That slap erased the last shred of hope I had for them. We should never have kept you in the first place, my mother screamed. We told you to give the marriage to Yuan Yuan, and you refused. Now look, my poor Yuan Yuan has to beg like a dog. She began to weep. My poor baby. My heart felt crushed in a fist. Why was she their only daughter? Was I not their child too? Father's eyes suddenly narrowed. Maybe. Mother's sobs stopped. She and father exchanged a glance. I read the horrible thought forming between them. Let Yuan Yuan take her place. No one will be able to tell the difference. Yuan Yuan will make a far better bride than this worthless girl. They acted at once. They tore the gown from my body, snatched my phone, and locked me inside the dressing room. Stay in there and behave. I sat on the floor, stunned. I had always known they favored her, but never imagined they would go this far. I pounded the door until my fists were raw, but no one came. Exhausted, I slumped against it. I don't know how long I was trapped when the acrid smell of smoke curled under the door. Screams erupted in the corridor. Fire! Fire! Run! Help! Let me out! Someone please! I beat the door until my hands were bloody, but the hallway was chaos. No one heard. Smoke thickened. The windows were sealed against high-rise falls. I stuffed wet towels under the door, crawled into the bathroom, turned the taps full on, but the temperature climbed and oxygen thinned. Dizzy, I collapsed. Just as I thought I would die, a deafening crash split the air. The door flew inward off its hinges. A tall figure burst through, lifted me in his arms, wrapped my head in a soaked cloth, and charged out. A falling chandelier struck his back. He grunted in pain. With my last strength I begged, take me away. Don't tell my parents. Then everything went black. Song Yuan has always taken whatever I had. She has always succeeded. My entire life people compared us. You're not as lovable as Song Yuan, not as sweet, not as. My teddy bear's my best friend. Any boy who ever liked me, all of them, the moment they met her, became hers. What was mine became hers. And then, as if it were the most natural thing in the world, they stood behind her and scolded me. You're the big sister. Yuan Yuan already gives you everything. What more do you want? Then Song Yuan would put on her usual pitiful look. It's okay, as long as my sister is happy. Right after, she'd start to cry, as if she were the one who'd suffered the greatest injustice. In the end, everyone would point their fingers at me. Song Yuan's grades weren't as good as mine, so when she scraped into a university I deliberately chose applied mathematics. It was her worst subject, a trap she could never graduate from. If it had been anything else, my biased parents would have forced us to swap schools. At the new campus I thought I'd finally escaped her shadow, that I could make new friends and start a brand new life. But after only a few weeks the living expense transfers stopped. No explanation. You're 18 now, support yourself. I had no choice but to work my way through school. The instant classes ended I raced from one part-time job to the next. My classmates all assumed I was dirt poor, yet on social media Song Yuan flashed the newest phones and holiday photos from everywhere. Why didn't she have to support herself? First winter break, I worked till the 29th, bought gifts for everyone, and dragged my suitcase home. I knocked and knocked, no one was there. A phone call told me my parents had taken Song Yuan on vacation. They'd even forgotten to leave me a key. Oops, we forgot you'd be back. We're taking Yuan Yuan away for New Year. Just head back to school. In the background I heard, Yuan Yuan, Mom peeled the lobster. Put your phone down and eat. They hung up. No one asked where I'd sleep, what I'd eat, whether I had money. I spent New Year's Eve on a bench in the train station, so cold I thought I'd never be warm again. After that, that, I never went home for the holidays. I thought staying away would be enough, but I'll never forget that afternoon. I'd pulled an all-nighter on an assignment and was napping when my roommate burst in. Song-shi, look who's here. Song Yuan stood in the doorway, smiling sweetly. Sis, I came to see you. I shot up from my feet. Every pore felt stabbed by needles. My teeth chattered. How did you get in? I tagged along behind someone else. She put on the same pitiful act. Sis, you didn't come home for New Year. Mom and Dad are so worried. I came all this way to check on you. You're not mad, are you? My roommate faltered. Her gaze turned strange. Song-shi, didn't you say your family was away and that's why you stayed on campus? They're in Hainan, I muttered. Even then I clung to a shred of pride. I didn't want anyone to know my parents didn't care, that I had nowhere to go for the holidays. Song Yuan hurried to explain. No, sis must have had her own plans. She'd never stay away on purpose. The explanation sounded worse than silence. My roommate's eyes grew odder. Song Yuan has a gift. 3 sentences and she can twist anyone's mind. I stared at her triumphant smile. My nails dug into the bedding so hard I thought I'd tear holes. In the end, my roommate said, your sister's here. Why aren't you happy? Take her around campus. And the verdict, you two really are nothing alike. I walked her out woodenly. Behind me she laughed softly. Thought picking applied math and getting into a university made you special? She quickened her steps. Her breath grazed my neck like a venomous snake. Still trash after all these years. She used my name to swan around campus. My classmates gushed about how Song-shi had suddenly become outgoing and bubbly. Then she'd giggle and correct them. I'm the younger sister. My older sis has quirks. The family worries, so I drop by to check on her. If she does anything odd, just let me know. Don't take it personally. Under her tireless smear campaign, I shrank back into my shell until I met Tang Bingchen. He was my senior. Are you Song-shi? So cute. I hugged my books tighter and scurried past. He had everything. Wealth, looks, top grades, a dazzling future. We were from different worlds, but children raised on love behave differently. The more I avoided him, the more intrigued he became. Soon everyone knew the finance department's golden boy was pursuing me. I worked in the canteen. He ate there every day. I pulled espresso shifts. He camped from open to close. Finally I snapped. I need to work. Stop bothering me. He looked almost hurt. Then let me work with you. I've got plenty of admirers. Why single me out? Big as he was, he managed to look aggrieved, producing a bouquet from behind his back. But none of them are you. I only want you, say yes. The light in his eyes almost scorched me. A weed that had grown in darkness all its life suddenly faced the sun. I didn't know moss dies when exposed too fast. Song Yuan somehow learned I had a boyfriend. One afternoon I came out of the cafe kitchen to see her sitting opposite Tang Bingchen, chatting merrily. A bucket of ice water seemed to drench me. Every old humiliation crashed down. My teeth chattered audibly. Tang Bingchen spotted me and waved, delighted. She come here. Perhaps being loved gave me courage. For the first time I walked up and said bluntly, you're not welcome here. Song Yuan froze, then tears welled. Sis, you haven't been home. I was worried. I cut her off. I'm not like you. Our parents cut me off. I have to earn every cent. That's a misunderstanding. Mom and Dad just wanted you to listen, she said softly. Never before had I confronted her. Shock flickered across her face before she turned to Tang Bingchen. Brother Tang, you see? Sis has the wrong idea about our family. When had they become brother and sister? When had they exchanged WeChat? I couldn't bear it. I picked up Tang Bingchen's latte and flung it in her face. Get lost. She ran off crying. Tang Bingchen frowned. She, how could you treat your sister like that? She's clearly concerned about you. Why did you add her? I told you don't talk to her. He fumbled out his phone. I'll delete her right now, okay? Just before he hit delete, I glimpsed her opening message. Brother Tang, my sis cares about you so much. I'm jealous. The green tea stench was suffocating. Delete her, and never add her again, never. That day I sobbed in his arms. I didn't notice the hesitation and disapproval in his eyes. Later I learned she had already used facial recognition to wander a university countless times. Her moments, set to block me, were full of a university life as if she were the enrolled twin. She never stopped trying to replace me. In truth, Tang Bingchen ending up with Song Yuan didn't surprise me. I once believed he was different. I had warned him so many times, told him every detail of my parents' favoritism and Song Yuan's scheming. He promised again and again, she, I love only you. And yes, to my face he was always cold to her. Watching her deflate gave me petty satisfaction. Then I joined Professor Wen Yang's lab, famously demanding, crushingly intense. As an undergrad with shakier foundations than the grad students, I worked day and night to keep up. Tang Bingchen complained I had no time for him. We fought repeatedly. Each time I slipped my phone out to text him, Wen Yang's icy glance would pin me. I don't tolerate divided attention. Leave if you can't focus. On our first anniversary, I finally finished a project phase and decided to make it up to him. I bought his favorite cake and went to pick him up after class. When Yang materialized at the lab door, leaving early today? I'm sneaking off, Professor. I gave him an ingratiating smile. I'm having dinner with my boyfriend, our anniversary. He stared at me expressionless. I hastily held up 2 fingers. I'll come back and work afterwards, I swear. Only then did his face soften a fraction. He nodded curtly. Go. That evening I discovered Tang Bingchen had secretly added Song Yuan again. When I confronted him, he said, I added her to understand you better. He even looked aggrieved. You have no time for me, but you spend every day with Professor Wan. If Yuan hadn't told me, I'd never have known. I gaped at him, wondering if he'd lost his mind. He's my professor. What are you imagining? Tang Bingchen finally exploded. I'm a man. I know the way he looks at you isn't innocent. Song Yuan again. All those years of slander flashed before my eyes. I lost control. Empty your head of that filth. I told you not to add her. Why do you still believe her? She's been doing this since we were kids. I was so angry my eyes burned. I fought back tears. Tang Bingchen poured oil on the fire. Yuan is still your sister. She, I love you, and I hope you can get along with your family. Go make peace with her. I hurled the cake to the ground, splattering him with cream, and walked out. That night we parted in anger, though he swore and cooed afterward, insisting he had no second thoughts, that Song Yuan couldn't sway him. Well, you've seen how that ended. When I woke again, I was in a hospital bed, utterly alone. I stared at the ceiling for a long time. I told myself over and over, this isn't my fault. Yet as the cold drip slid into my vein, tears still fell. Why is it that, though we have the same parents, the same face, everyone loves Song Yuan and no one loves me? What's wrong with me? The door suddenly creaked open at that moment. Thinking it was the nurse coming in, and unwilling to be seen in such an embarrassing state, I quickly shut my eyes tight. Just then, a man's calm voice sounded above my head. How long do you plan to pretend to sleep? My heart gave a jolt, and I hastily opened my eyes, struggling to sit up straight as I stammered out a thank you. Professor Wen Yang, the youngest visiting professor at a university, renowned for his icy sarcasm as much as his breathtaking good looks. Yet despite his venomous lecture style behind those gold-rimmed glasses, students flocked to his classes like a tidal wave. Every session was packed beyond capacity, the turnout terrifyingly massive. Later he resigned to manage hedge funds in Harbor City, skyrocketing to fame by founding his own fund. Now barely 30, he epitomized life's winner. He pinned my shoulder firmly against the hospital bed. Don't move. Bandages still wrapped his torso, his arm hanging limply across his chest, but beneath the fabric of his shirt, the outline of sculpted muscles remained strikingly clear. I instinctively averted my gaze. How he managed gym sessions amidst his relentless workload remained a mystery. His cold appraisal swept over me. Songshi, you've disappointed me. Mortification flooded through me. My head drooped lower and lower until it nearly touched the quilt. I didn't think you'd come. I choked out, tears welling unexpectedly. He seemed poised to deliver another barb but swallowed it back with a grimace when he saw my tears. Finally thrusting a handkerchief toward me, wipe your face. Pathetic. His voice softened slightly. I flew straight from Harbor City the second you messaged. Got here just in time to save your neck. My sobs intensified instead, growing louder until Professor Wen had no choice but to sit beside the bed. When I felt a warm palm settle gently on my head, he spread his arms wide, face still twisted in disdain, yet his tone unexpectedly tender. Come here, cry all you want. I don't know how long I wept uncontrollably. By the time I calmed down, his high-end custom shirt was utterly ruined. Ever fastidious about cleanliness, I cautiously asked, Professor, should you change your clothes? He glared down at me imperiously, finished crying, then he grabbed the remote control, switching on the wall-mounted TV, and casting a video from his phone. The footage shook violently before stabilizing. A yellow-haired youth grinned maniacally at the camera. Yo bros, 5-star hotels gone up in flames, some wedding venue, bride got crispy, dudes, double tap if you feel that. He prattled outside the police tape while a frantic man tried shoving past firefighters blocking his path. My girlfriend, no, wife, she's inside, in the bridal suite. One glimpse was enough. That desperate figure was Tang Bingchen. Please let me in. The hotel was already engulfed in raging flames. Of course, the firefighters wouldn't allow him passage. My eyes darted to the corner of the screen where live comments blazed like manic shadows, drowning the feed in praises of his deep affection. Tang Bingchen's eyes were bloodshot, his groom's tuxedo disheveled as he lunged recklessly toward the inferno, performing the role of a man shattered by grief. Yet just last night, he'd hung up on me to indulge in illicit trysts with Song Yuan. Right behind him trailed Song Yuan herself, trembling and and fragile as a wounded dove. She covered her face, sobbing softly until her knees buckled dramatically. "Miss, are you all right?" At that precise moment, as she faltered, Tang glanced back and caught her. Instantly, she collapsed into his arms like a nestling flung from its nest. Only then did a single coherent comment cut through the chaos. "Wait, who's this woman suddenly appearing? Didn't his wife just die? How come they're embracing already? These two look awfully chummy." When Yang paused the video, "Is this the fiancé you chose over my offer?" Over staying alive. He emphasized the word boyfriend like a scalpel twisting in flesh. Shame seared my cheeks. Everyone believed I was dead. What now? When Yang studied me leisurely, his presence heavier than ever after years apart. "Professor, could you take me back to Harbor City?" He gauged my sincerity, scrutinizing me as if appraising cheap merchandise. "Graduated 3 years ago," he stated flatly. "Achieved nothing. Your once celebrated talent has drowned in mediocrity. What makes you think you deserve my help?" His words lashed harder than any physical blow. All those grand promises I'd made before him crumbled into absurdity. After a long silence, my voice wavered. "I can learn. Start from scratch. Please, give me one more chance." His gaze raked over me clinically. I endured the humiliation of being inspected head to toe. Finally, he nodded curtly. 3 years. Prove yourself." His breath ghosted against my ear. "Remember, I'm not your professor anymore." On the day they buried me, rain lashed the sky. Ironically, my funeral drew a massive crowd, mostly there for Tang Bingchen. Clad in funereal black, he stood beside my gravestone, pale and mournful, playing the grieving widower to perfection. Attendees queued to lay white lilies, then shook his hand with sycophantic condolences. He returned their gestures as the sole heir. My parents wailed. My younger sister, draped in virginal white, swayed like a broken blossom in the downpour. Through tears, my mother clutched Song Yuan's hand. "Cece adored you most, dear. You'll honor her wishes, won't you?" Song Yuan feigned shock, as if she hadn't penned stacks of seductive letters to her own sister's husband. My mother pressed her hand into Tang's. "Take care of our girl. It's what Cece would want." What she wanted. Stuck in that locked dressing room, choking on smoke while they planned her murder, I stood silently beneath my umbrella, watching this farce unfold. How cruel. They'd never shown such devotion while I lived. Just as I expected Tang to refuse my mother's plea, he pulled my shivering sister into his arms and vowed solemnly, "I shall protect Yuan Yuan." Something snapped inside me. I turned to Wen Yang standing nearby. "Let's go." Rain streamed down my face. Why did it taste salty? Numbly. I walked ahead until strong arms yanked me into warmth. Wen Yang's voice rumbled above. "Cry. This is your last tear for him." His tone stayed icy, yet underlying concern seeped through. Funny how humans work. When no one watches, you wipe bloody knees and soldier on. But offer kindness? Tears explode uncontrollably. My spine locked rigid until the car's heater blasted full force. Then sobs erupted, shaking my frame. Wen Yang patted my back rhythmically, saying nothing. As we sped away from the cemetery, faint shouts chased us. He floored the accelerator. Was that just a stray dog? He dismissed lightly. Wen Yang ran a private equity firm, a financial shark swimming in billions. Harbor City reeked of money, its very air pulsed with profit margins. His fund owned an entire skyscraper in the heart of the district. My jaw dropped at the opulence when first visiting. He spread his arms wide, grinning triumphantly. "Welcome back to the world where money never sleeps." Though I forced a smile, reality hit hard. This wasn't a Cinderella story. Post-graduation gap years meant I lagged continents behind him. Wen Yang demanded rigor. Start from the bottom. True to his word, he landed me a gig at an investment bank, choosing only after consulting my preference. I picked the state-backed firm. He approved with a nod, not randomness. State entities in Harbor City offered unique insights into geopolitical undercurrents beneath placid surfaces. My first year drowned in spreadsheets till 2 a.m. daily. Some nights ended napping at desks. Junior analysts called it dirty work, grueling, thankless labor invisible to superiors. But for someone rusticated, data mountains became my steepest learning curve. Wen Yang himself possessed terrifying numerical acuity. Once, reviewing a subordinate's report, he flagged inflated growth rates, mismatched profit ratios, even cited historical figures from memory without cross-referencing. Brilliance abounded here. Brainpower alone meant nothing. Every trader clawed upward relentlessly. Heartbreak, trivial collateral damage. Sometimes at 3 a.m., slurping cold coffee while waiting for algorithms to crunch numbers, fragments surfaced, old wounds feeling distant, almost fictional. Between tasks, Wen Yang drilled me personally on live trading floors. Data builds instinct, he'd say, but theory dies without battle scars. Markets are jungles. You survive by losing skin, and sometimes blood. Besides finance, he schooled me in psychology law. I became a sponge. No breaks, no pauses. Unsettlingly, my gaze increasingly lingered on him. Intelligence radiates sensuality. Add devastating looks? Dangerous territory. But my daydreams about when Young always died at 3 in the morning. I could barely keep my eyes open while he stepped off the treadmill, fresh as dawn, and asked, "Finished your report yet?" At that moment, no matter how handsome the face, it lost all magic. I'd long heard when Yang's stamina was terrifying. When I started learning futures trading from him, the foreign markets kept us on a flipped schedule. After a long night of trading duels abroad, I'd pass out over my keyboard, only to wake up tucked in bed while that monster had already gone on a half-hour morning run, and come back with breakfast. Up you get, time to eat. Humans and beasts are simply different species. When he wasn't swamped, when Yang would come to my tiny rented flat and cook together. In Hong Kong, 100 square meters is called a 1,000-foot luxury, and my place was far smaller. Adding Wen Yang to the minuscule kitchen meant we bumped into each other whenever we turned. He insisted on staying. 2 people eating. How can I let you cook alone? I glared. You're in the way. He simply lifted me, set me on his instep, rested his chin on the top of my head, laughing. There, now it's not cramped. The air felt like someone had tipped in syrup, bubbling thick and sweet. Heaven knows how red my face turned. We both knew, but neither broke the silence, until Chishi. When Yang booked the revolving restaurant atop the harbor tower, under a sky full of fireworks, he took my hand, his eyes gentle. Chishi, I like you. May I have the chance to take care of you? I panicked and tried to flee. He trapped me between the high-back chair and himself. 7 years. I've liked you for 7 years. Letting you go the first time was the worst investment decision of my life. This time, I won't repeat it. His gaze was rock steady. I burst out laughing. How long did you rehearse that line? The calm CEO vanished. When Yang's ears turned scarlet. How did you know? Who confesses by calling it an investment? Before I could tease more, he tilted my chin and kissed me. When I finally surfaced, I found a necklace around my neck. I froze. One afternoon back in college, I'd been working on a project with him. A silly CEO pursues wife drama was trending. While the code ran, I secretly watched on my phone and screenshot the heroine's couple necklace. Must have been the warm sun or the all-nighters. I nodded off right there, when a cough behind me jerked me awake. When Yang was already walking away, half smiling, I realized I'd never locked the screen. The necklace photo was still showing. I thought it was a tiny springtime accident. I never guessed someone tucked it away in his heart. When Yang, usually aloof, was actually blushing. This necklace was meant for you when you got into that ivy. Now, after all the detours, it's finally where it belongs. Under the fireworks, his features glowed. My eyes stung. He never mentioned that the year I graduated, he resigned from a university and took a professorship at the very ivy I'd applied to, laying the road for me. Yet at the last moment, I backed out. I still remember the disappointment in his eyes. That year, the confession wall was plastered with anonymous slurs. Academic concubine. Heard she slept her way to first authorship, lol. Song Yuan's fingerprints were all over it. Whenever I came back late, she'd sigh to anyone listening. My poor sister. Off with Professor Wen again. Undergrads are so overworked these days. When Yang once asked if I wanted him to step in, he'd already quit. Nothing could touch him, yet wading into the mud would still tarnish his name. I refused. I wasn't blind to his favor, but he was too dazzling. How could I dare imagine a god would stoop for me? When Yang sighed and drew me into his arms as if soothing a baby. Hush, don't cry. When the tears kept falling, he clicked his tongue, half amused, half helpless. Keep this up and I'll kiss you again. Before I could react, he cupped my jaw and kissed me hard. The cedar scent of him flooded my senses. My eyes went round. When Yang, kissing me? Only after he released me did he nip my lip with a soft laugh. Back to earth, eyes closed next time. My cheeks burned. Heat swept through me until I melted entirely into his warmth. 3 years later, I'd clawed my way to vice president at an investment bank, then jumped ship to Wen Capital, Wen Yang's own fund. On my first day, he came to pick me up in person, pride shining in every line of him. Welcome aboard, Shishi. Because of a non-compete clause, I couldn't jump straight back to my old sector. Just then, the young heir of a partner family needed someone to teach him how to read financial statements. When Yang was in the middle of a brutal week-long duel with a Russian fund, he tossed the kid to me. So there I sat, face to face with Master Tang Yen, pretty sulky, chin tilted like a spoiled cat. Where's Wen Yang? I faced plenty of difficult clients. This brat was nothing. I sat, smiled, and slid him a double espresso. He rattled off complaints. After an hour, his throat was dry. He gulped the coffee, grimaced like a Persian cat tasting lemon, and squeaked. What swill is this? I offered sweet iced Americano or ice cola. Anything bitter was forgotten. After we'd bonded over trashing Pepsi, he He grudgingly let me look at his statements. His mission: Dad had given him a subsidiary to practice on. Sales and profits were up, the reports looked clean, yet something felt off. I pulled 3 years of internal reports and 5 years of public filings, and started line-by-line analysis. Looking only at these 3 years, you won't see it. Compare earlier years. Costs and profits used to rise together. But 3 years ago, costs started climbing while marketing spend stayed flat and sales growth lagged. Tang Yan is arrogant but sharp. Why didn't I spot it? We're listed. Auditors sign off every year. I laughed. Auditors only make sure the tables tie out. They don't care if someone's skimming inventory and booking it as spoilage. He left thoughtful, cheeks pink. Add me on WeChat, sis. He actually blushed. Sorry about earlier. You're kinda awesome. Days passed with no word. Then a panda sticker popped up. Caught them all. He'd gone home, mapped every personnel link in cash flow, hired a PI, and personally photographed the evidence. The subsidiary's GM had been colluding with outsiders, shipping goods out the back door and booking them as damaged stock, pocketing millions. Tang Yan called the cops and lawyers in one furious swoop, then pranced back like a peacock demanding praise. I obliged. He huffed. That's not good enough. Teach me properly. He began dropping by One Capital every few days under the pretext of lessons, bearing flowers or afternoon tea, hinting he wanted an internship. One Yang, fresh from skinning the Russian tycoons, bought me a 6-figure watch to celebrate. Then, fearing the cub might actually poach his tigress, came downstairs mid-battle to stake his claim. In front of the entire office, he wrapped an arm around me and kissed me deep. Allow me to introduce my girlfriend. Colleagues hooped. I knew it. Boss and CC have been eye-flirting for ages. First day CC arrived, the no dating rule vanished. Told you so. Tang Yan's face crumpled on the spot. I thought the whole episode was over, but the next day he marched back, contract in hand, straight into Wen Yang's office and slapped it on the desk. My father says our family's consulting mandate goes to Sishi from now on. Wen Yang gave him a lazy once-over. Fine. Fee goes up 50%. Also, Shishi and I are getting engaged soon. Aren't you still under the legal marriage age? The kid almost cried on the spot. Still, when Yang let me take the Tang family job, there wasn't much else I could do while the non-compete clause lasted. On my very first day, the Tang group waded into a cross-border MBA. Headquarters wanted the kid to watch and learn, so I tagged along. I never expected the project leader flown in from HQ to be Tang Bingchen. My ex-boyfriend and I collided without warning. He'd lost weight, looked haggard. The moment he saw me, he jerked to his feet, shock and joy all over his face. Songshi, Tang Yan, like a wary German shepherd, stepped half a pace in front of me, 20 years old, shoulders not yet broad, but already the beginnings of a man. Cousin. Only then did Tang Bingchen seem to remember where he was. The Tang clan is an old family conglomerate. Succession is now on the table. Several uncles sat watching, grading the younger generation's performances. Both Tang Bingchen and Tang Yan are on the short list. Their every move matters. Tang Bingchen can split his focus. He didn't make a single mistake in the meeting, but anyone could see his eyes never left me. Tang Yan leaned closer, whispering, "Sis, you know my cousin?" I didn't want to elaborate and nudged his knee under the table. Listen. Listen to what? The kid misread me completely. His ears went scarlet. Look at him, soul already half gone. Today's meeting is just for show. Again, I only got back from overseas recently, he murmured. Word is he was engaged for years. Then the bride died in a fire. He's been a wreck ever since. Still, he's decent. Keeps looking after the fiancé's family. Looking after? I sneered inwardly. He's been looking after the fiancé's sister, right into bed. Tang Bingchen caught my stranger's stare. After the first rush of emotion, he went quiet, the air around him thickening like a storm front. An elder cleared his throat. Tang Yan straightened like a cat grabbed by the scruff and shut up. When the meeting ended, the elder hauled Tang Yan away. I slipped out first. I had no time for Tang Bingchen. Yet the elevator doors had barely opened when I collided with someone. She yelped and sat down hard. Picture perfect fragility. That voice. I looked down. My darling little sister, Song Yuan, sprawled on the floor. He brings her to board meetings now. True lovebirds. Her face went white. You died. Yes, I said, stepping closer. She scrambled backward, terrified I'd come to claim her soul. Tang Bingchen caught up. She. He reached for me radiant. It really is you. The moment his hand closed around my wrist, it felt like a slug. Nausea rolled over me. Let go. I yanked free. The back of my hand cracked across his cheek. He froze. You're not happy to see me? You make me sick. He seized me anyway, trying to kiss me. She. Get off. I struggled. He wouldn't budge. I sank my teeth into his arm until I tasted blood. Still he clung, crooning. Where have you been? I've searched everywhere. They said you were dead. No body in the fire, but I didn't believe. See, heaven brought you back. Tang Bingchen, I said coldly, save the devotion. I read the love letters your darling sent you. I saw you hug her outside the burning hotel. Promise her forever at my funeral. Now you come for me? Wife and concubine under one roof. You disgust me. I turned to Song Yuan, whose face was a shifting kaleidoscope of fear and calculation. Tell me, when they locked me in the bridal suite, did you really know nothing? Tears sprang instantly. She clung to Tang Bingchen's arm and shook it. Brother Bingchen, you believe me, right? I had no idea. Tang Bingchen seized my wrist again, eyes wild. Who took you? Who helped you fake your death? You're my fiancé. You come home with me. A Porsche screamed into the garage, tires skidding. Headlights flared, blinding Tang Bingchen. Before he could shield his eyes, a fist smashed into his face. When Yang hauled me behind him, frost dripped from his expression. Let her go. When Yang, Tang Bingchen looked from me to him, disbelief all over his face. You too, actually. Song Yuan couldn't resist pouring poison. Brother Bingchen, I told you they've been. She never finished. I spun and slapped her hard. I'd wanted to do that for years. Song Yuan's head snapped sideways. A red print bloomed on her cheek. She stood stunned. Hit you? Yes. Since we were kids, you've stolen everything I owned. Tell me, how cheap can you get? After the first shock, Song Yuan's tears arrived on cue. Lowering her head, she sobbed. Sis, do you have to force me to say it? They locked you in the dressing room because you were trying to run away from the wedding. She turned to Tang Bingchen, pitiful again. Brother Bingchen, my sister's been involved with Professor Wen for ages. To elope with him, she even faked her death for years. Never contacted us once. It was the trick she'd used since childhood, but Tang Bingchen actually believed it. He stared at me, wounded. She, I once asked if you liked him. What did you tell me? Beside me, when Yang gave a soft, thoughtful I felt his gaze and didn't dare look back, like being caught cheating in public. Tang Bingchen went on, deaf to everything else. You said you had nothing with him, that you'd stay in China for me. I loved you so much, and on our wedding day you died on me. I'd heard enough. 3 years of self-brainwashing, so he could whitewash his own cheating. You loved me. I laughed coldly. Whose bed were you in the night before our wedding? That okay. Who was it written for? His face drained of color. Shishi, I can explain. Don't call me Shishi. It's nauseating. Luckily, I've always kept backups. I pulled the cloud files and showed him the screen. Song Yuan's letters, his replies. Thank you, Song Yuan. Without you, I'd never have known my fiancé had such refined tastes. She's lying. Song Yuan shrieked and lunged for my phone. It's photoshopped. Brother Bingchen, don't believe her. She's the liar. I lifted a hand. She shrank back, terrified. She tugged Tang Bingchen's sleeve. Brother Bingchen, look at her. How creepy. There was a time I craved my parents' love and the world's approval. I thought Song Yuan was invincible. Now, outside the story, she looked merely pathetic. As for the fire, I continued, if Wen Yang hadn't broken in, I'd have burned alive. But the two of you were busy comforting each other outside, so I doubt you cared. A hand settled on my shoulder. I turned. Wen Yang was rolling up his sleeves. She, wait a moment. He loosened his collar, exposing the clean line of muscle, then glanced at Song Yuan. You're the idiot who sat in on my lectures pretending to be Shishi, understood nothing, but insisted on showing off? I don't hit women, but back off. I can't promise I won't accidentally hit bystanders. Song Yuan's face twisted. She prided herself on being clever. My life was hers to take. Now she'd been called an idiot to her face. Her composure cracked. When Yang moved, while Song Yuan screamed, he kicked Tang Bingchen's legs out from under him and landed punch after punch, precise and brutal. Moron who can't see what's in front of him. I'd never seen Wen Yang so openly savage. Tang Bingchen, of course, didn't wait to be beaten. Wiping blood from his nose, he roared and charged. Two men, both over 6'2", traded bone-deep blows, fists thudding into flesh. Car alarms wailed as they crashed into vehicles. Security arrived waving riot forks. Break it up. Stop. They pried the men apart, only to find an even louder commotion. Song Yuan and I were now at each other's throats. Old scores and new hatred merged. I grabbed her hair, yanked off a stiletto and swung. Heaven knows how long I'd wanted to do this. 3 gym sessions a week with Wen Yang had paid off. I pinned her and landed every blow. When I finally stood up, a clump of her hair was still in my fist and Song Yuan lay curled on the ground, whimpering. Only then did I realize Tang Yin had been holding the guards back. No wonder they'd let me fight so long. Tang Bingchen hadn't lifted a finger to protect her. So much for his favorite. Tang Yin tiptoed over, eyes shining with awe. Sis, you're terrifyingly awesome. I flicked my hair back. So, who decreed women must watch men fight? Couldn't I handle my own? Wen Yang ended up with stitches, yet the man's vanity was ironclad. He refused to admit it hurt, insisted on showering that night, I smell of filth, ran a fever by midnight, and was rushed back to hospital. Feverish when Yang turned into an oversized clingy cat. He seized my hand, refused to let go, and demanded I squeeze onto the narrow hospital bed with him. Half asleep, I thought I heard him murmuring into the phone, but a gentle hand stroked my hair. It's okay, sleep. 2 days later, Tang Yin dropped by with gossip. Only then did I learn what Wen Yang had quietly arranged behind my back. Song Yuan, after graduation, had joined Tang Bingchen's firm as his secretary. Incompetent and arrogant, she alienated every veteran. After our return from Hong Kong, Tang Bingchen's attitude toward her chilled. The sharks in the company circled. Wen Yang, ever the sly dog, knew Song Yuan was vain and desperate to climb. He hired a male escort tailored to her taste, a besotted, rich, foolish second-generation heir who had eyes only for her. After Tang Bingchen began freezing her out, Song Yuan sought comfort. Soon she and the heir were inseparable. Under honeyed persuasion, she stole a crucial tender document. Tang Bingchen's firm, already teetering after Wen Yang's earlier sabotage, lost tens of millions. He erupted, launched an internal witch hunt. Song Yuan ran to her boyfriend, who had vanished. Police dragged her out of Tang Corp in handcuffs. With that sum, she'll be looking at 8 to 10 years. As for my parents, lazy, greedy, dreaming of riding Song Yuan's coattails, Tang Bingchen's revenge was vicious. He lured my father into gambling. Within weeks, the ancestral house was gone and debts piled high. They fled to the countryside. Later, my mother disappeared. My father, what more is there to say of a gambling addict? One winter night, he froze to death under a bridge. Tang Bingchen had planned to crash my wedding and plead forgiveness. When Yang moved too fast and handed the police Tang's fake psychiatric report. Tang had to admit insanity to avoid jail, but a certified madman cannot inherit a company. Tang Yin left with a flash of sharp little canines. Be careful, sis. Our Mr. Wen is the type who gives life to those he loves and death to those he hates. That night when Yang came home, kissed me over and over, greeted our restless unborn baby, and beamed like a blissfully foolish cat. Wife, I'm so happy. Me too. I kissed him back and turned off my phone. All that pain is now only pixels. When Yang and I have a long, beautiful life ahead.